Welcome to the first section of this workshop, the copy editing process. Before we get into the technical weeds, grammar, punctuation, clarity, we're going to zoom out a bit. This is the part where you learn to think like an editor. Copy editing isn't just hunting for typos or fixing awkward sentences. It's about entering the text with purpose. You're both an advocate for the reader and a partner to the author. You want to preserve voice, polish structure, and make sure the message lands exactly as intended. So this part of the workshop is your roadmap, a step-by-step guide to the editorial process. We'll walk through how to get into the right mindset, how to assess genre and audience, and what to look for during your first read. Then we'll dig into sentence-level editing, respectful querying, and how to give a manuscript its final polish. If you skip these steps, or rush through them, you're not really editing, you're just correcting. And there's a difference. Let's get into it.
Step 1. Shift your perspective. Copy editing isn't about rewriting or reimagining the manuscript. The foundation is in place. Your role is to clarify, refine, and align, to remove what gets in the way so that the author's intent is delivered cleanly and effectively. Think of it like cleaning a high-performance machine. The engine runs, the design holds, but the lines are obscured. You're not rebuilding the car, you're removing the buildup that dulls its shape. You are both the reader's advocate, attending to clarity and logic, and the author's partner, preserving voice while tightening what distracts or obscures. Copy editing is deliberate work. You're enhancing precision, coherence, and rhythm, bringing what's already there into sharper focus. Before you start reading, stop. Not to admire the font choice, tempting, I know, but to orient yourself. Context isn't just helpful, it's non-negotiable if you plan to make editorial decisions that aren't completely arbitrary. Start with the genre or form. Memoir, persuasive essay, academic text. Each one comes with its own set of expectations, conventions, and indulgences. Knowing which sandbox you're in keeps you from flagging perfectly acceptable sandcastles as structural hazards. Then consider the audience. Is this written for children? A general readership? A niche community that communicates exclusively in jargon and passive voice? Whoever it is, you're not editing in a vacuum. Your choices need to align with the reader's needs, not your personal sense of literary justice. This step isn't editing, it's triage. You're calibrating your approach before you begin, so you don't spend 2 hours line editing a paragraph that was never meant to survive the final draft. The types of writing shown here reflect the wide-ranging material an editor may be asked to work with. Each form comes with its own set of expectations, conventions, and editorial challenges, and recognizing those differences is key to approaching the work with precision. We begin with forms, the or form, they're often more formal in structure, sustained in length, or governed by a specific purpose. Fiction includes both literary works, those driven by style, depth, and complexity, and genre fiction, which operates within recognizable conventions. Fantasy, science fiction, mystery, romance, and so on. Short stories, novellas, and flash fiction round out the field, each demanding economy and control at different scales. Narrative nonfiction blends storytelling with factual content. Memoirs, personal essays, and literary journalism all rely on narrative techniques, but must also maintain factual integrity. The line between artful and indulgent can be thin. Journalistic writing ranges from hard news, fact first, time sensitive reporting, to soft news, which includes profiles, cultural commentary, and long form pieces that prioritize narrative and tone. Both require accuracy, but the editorial approach differs significantly. Academic writing demands structural rigor and adherence to discipline-specific conventions. Whether it's a thesis, scholarly article, or conference paper, clarity must coexist with Complexity and citations are non-negotiable. Professional and technical writing is designed to communicate clearly, efficiently, and often under constraints. Business documents like proposals or reports need polish and persuasion. Technical manuals and user guides require absolute clarity because ambiguity here can quite literally cause problems. And finally, grant writing, which is persuasive, procedural, and soul-sapping in equal measure. Together, these forms show just how much variation exists under the simple label of writing. For the editor, the job is not to standardize all of it, but to recognize what each type is trying to do and help it do it better. What we're looking at here are forms of writing that often prioritize immediacy, tone, and engagement. They may be brief, spoken aloud, or designed for digital spaces, but they're no less dependent on editorial judgment. If anything, they leave less room for error. Digital and informal writing includes blogs, newsletters, listicles, social media posts, and online reviews, formats that range from personal reflection to professional branding. They often forgo formality but still demand coherence, voice, and audience awareness. Editing here is about restraint, preserving tone without allowing sloppiness to masquerade as style. Persuasive and argumentative writing is built to influence. Op-eds, policy briefs, and editorials require clarity, confidence, and well-controlled passion. The editor's role is to refine without dulling the edge, ensuring the argument lands without drifting into excess or vagueness. Scripted and performance-based writing includes screenplays, plays, spoken word poetry, and podcast scripts. These are meant to be heard, not just read. Editing here requires sensitivity to rhythm, breath, timing, and even silence. Grammar still matters, but so does cadence. And then there's copywriting, where every word has to earn its place. It's the tightest of all the forms: a headline, a tagline, a sentence. Impact is everything. Over edit, and you kill the spark. Under edit, and you risk cliche, redundancy, or noise. These forms may be shorter, more agile, or more fluid, but the editorial stakes remain high. Your job isn't to formalize what's meant to be flexible. It's to sharpen it, guide it, and make sure it lands exactly where it's supposed to. Now that we've looked at the wide range of genres and forms you might encounter, you're finally ready to read the thing, or at least you're ready to read it intentionally. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This isn't editing yet. No red pens, no margin comments, no rearranging entire paragraphs out of existential frustration. This is a global pass, a straight read through to understand the document's flow, structure, and voice. You're trying to get a sense of the terrain before you start building roads. Note any major issues as they float by: tense drift, structural gaps, repetition, tonal inconsistencies, and if something feels off but you can't quite articulate why, flag it anyway. Your brain often knows before your conscious editor does. This step is about getting your bearings. Treat it like reconnaissance. Observe, listen, mark the terrain, but don't engage. Not yet. At this point, we've read the full document and taken stock of the big picture issues. Now it's time to roll up our sleeves and wade into the sentence level trenches. This is where we start cleaning, carefully, systematically, and with the calm precision of someone who's read far worse. We're working in 4 key areas here. First, clarity and flow. Look for misplaced modifiers, those wayward phrases that accidentally describe the wrong thing, ambiguous references, redundant language, passive constructions that drain energy from the sentence, and of course, cliché, because no one needs to hear another story that unfolded like a blooming flower. Second, grammar and usage. This is the guts of your language. Make sure subject and verb agree even when the sentence gets convoluted. Watch out for irregulars that don't play nicely. Enforce parallel structure, especially in lists and comparisons. And clean up tense drift, which is less a creative decision than a silent cry for help. Third, punctuation and mechanics. Commas. So loved, so abused. Fix the splices, cut the clutter, check dashes, ellipses, and quotation marks for consistency. Remember, punctuation isn't decoration, it's function. And please, let's all agree to stop overusing semicolons to feel clever. Fourth, capitalization and style consistency. Make sure chapter titles and headers follow a consistent format. Are you capitalizing email in one section and writing it lowercase in another? Pick a lane. Be consistent with how you handle headings, acronyms, bullet points, numerals, basically anything that can quietly betray you by not matching itself 3 pages later. Inconsistency might seem small, but it's the kind of small that makes a document feel unfinished, or worse, unedited. Tip: keep the iPub style guide handy. It's there to support consistency and take the guesswork out of your decisions.
When you're editing someone else's work, it can be tempting, almost reflexive, to rewrite a sentence just because it doesn't sound like something you would say. But don't. That's not your job. Your job is clarity, not authorship. Unless the original is actually confusing, inconsistent, or just plain incorrect, resist the urge to reword it in your own style. That kind of edit might make it sound more like you, but it also risks erasing what makes the author sound like them. Instead, flip the script. Ask yourself, is this unclear because it's flawed, or just because it's unfamiliar to me? If a sentence is grammatically fine and carries the author's stylistic flair, honor that. Don't flatten it out into something bland just for the sake of uniformity. Remember, you're not here to show you're the better writer. You're here to be the better editor.
Now that you've made your sentence level edits, it's time to flag anything that still needs clarification, input, or revision from the author. This is where comments, your queries come in, but don't overdo it. Queries should be strategic, not reactive. If something can be easily and confidently corrected, fix it. If something affects meaning, logic, or voice, and you're not sure what the author intended, then it's time to comment. Here's the key: be neutral, not judgmental. Say, consider clarifying who he refers to here, not this is confusing. Your job isn't to prove the writer wrong, it's to help them make the writing stronger. You can also flag patterns. Several sentences open with this, okay to revise for clarity, but you don't need to mark every instance if a global note will do. Use discretion, be kind, and always write like the author will read your comment before their coffee. This final step is simple, but it's where your discipline shows. Once you've edited, queried, and polished, step back, zoom out, and read the piece like someone who didn't write it. Ideally, read it aloud. You'll catch awkward phrasing, jarring transitions, or sneaky typos that slipped through when you were too close to the text. If something feels clunky to say out loud, it'll probably feel clunky to read. Check for leftover formatting weirdness, extra line breaks, inconsistent spacing, bullet points behaving badly. And don't forget your visuals. Make sure headings, images, and captions follow a clean, consistent style. No orphaned graphics or mismatched fonts. This pass is about reading for rhythm, tone, and finish, not as an editor, but as a reader, which frankly is who the whole thing was for in the first place.